Welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. Now, today we're going to talk about something that happened in New York State, and we're going to talk about some other stuff as well. But people are all up in arms and all angry about something that happened with a squirrel and a raccoon in New York State. Now, this guy, I don't follow them, I have never heard of them until this situation, had a squirrel that he had taken from the wild, and it was named Peanut. He apparently made social media videos, like TikTok, Instagram kind of videos, something like that. And everything seemed to be going okay. Unfortunately, he also added a raccoon. Now, the thing is with raccoons, they do sometimes carry rabies. Squirrels very rarely carry rabies, but they can, at least contract it from another animal. But the state authorities came in, confiscated the animals, a raccoon named Fred, apparently, and a squirrel named Peanut. And then they euthanized them. Now, there are a lot of people mad about this and trying to make a big political mess about it. And it's not really a political mess. The man broke the law, and these animals pay the consequences for it. I follow a group named the Red Rock I think it's called Red Rock Animal Rescue or whatever, over on Facebook and such. And they had a whole thing out that laid out a good reasoning for what happened. Because this guy had the squirrel for a while. The state authorities in New York knew he had the squirrel and everything was fine. But they pointed out something. Fred the raccoon had bitten people, which probably, you know, showed a lack of responsibility on the person who was maintaining these animals, right? And that's bad enough. It just shows a lack of responsibility. It's just how it goes. I mean, that's what it is, right? This man had the squirrel for a good while. He's supposedly trying to run a refuge of some sort, but he doesn't have the proper licensing to do so. If he was so concerned about the lives of the two animals he had taken in, Peanut and Fred, he would have gone and taken better care to make sure he had followed all the applicable laws and got the applicable licensing necessary to keep the animals. These laws exist to keep people safe, to keep the spread of rabies and other viruses and bacteria that some animals can carry. It's also a way to prevent viruses from jumping from human or from animal to human. As we all know, if you contract rabies, by the time you show symptoms, it's basically too late. And so it was unsafe the way this guy was taking care of things, especially if it is true that Fred the raccoon had bitten other people. That said, I'm sad that these animals were euthanized. I don't think they should have been. But at the same time, it's also hard to find places that will take these animals because of some of the backlash that they can face. It's absolutely tragic, though. Once again, humans meddling in wildlife, and then the animals pay the price. And it's just one of those things that happens, and I don't think people understand the dangers of people that are irresponsible trying to take animals from the wild to make videos of them for TikTok. That can be dangerous, not only for the person doing the videos, but other people around them and other animals that could possibly be in the house. My suggestion, before you take these animals or you go trying to rescue, quote unquote, rescue animals, make sure you have the legit licensing to do so. Check and make sure if there's anything you have to do in terms of being a refugee, a refuge for animals, or a sanctuary, or even if your state has requirements or laws you have to follow for fostering. Every state's different. Every state has their different things. Now, do I agree with a lot of them? No. But for the sake of the animals, people need to make sure they're following the right protocols and the right laws. That way they can properly maintain the lives of these animals and make sure they're properly fed. From what I've read, this guy wasn't even properly feeding the animals. He was feeding the squirrel, apparently, waffles for their main source of food, which squirrels can get obese. I've seen squirrels that were wild get obese because people would feed them bread and shit like that when I lived in East Texas. That said, we're going to talk about something else as well. Over the weekend, Donald Trump decided he would try to simulate a sex act on a microphone, all because he got angry because his microphone wasn't working. This man completely lost his mind. Completely, went complete senile on this microphone, threatening to hurt people backstage because the microphone wasn't working right. I mean, how insecure are you to think that people must be trying to harm you or harm your campaign by messing up your microphone? They're your people. They're Trumpers. They're not going to mess with your microphone. But he had a huge fit and then went ahead and simulated giving oral sex to a microphone. I don't know. I don't understand anymore. I don't know. I don't understand what's going on with the Trump campaign. I swear to God, he's trying to lose it because he doesn't really want it. But that's how I felt in 2016 for a while too, and then look what happened. Donald Trump is clearly sick. Do I agree with every policy idea of Kamala Harris? No. No, I don't. Do I agree with the Biden administration's handling of Gaza? No. Do I hope that Kamala Harris will do a better job? Yes. Yes, I do hope she will. But I also know that Donald Trump will do a worse job. Another Donald Trump presidency will be 4 years of complete chaos and possibly the last 4 years of this country. He has repeated in the last few weeks that he should have never left the White House when he lost the election in 2020. That he should have stayed there anyway. Telling me and everybody else that he won't leave if he loses or whenever his term is up. Because he actually believes that he's due a third term because he feels he was cheated out of the 2020 election. It's all garbage. He wasn't cheated. Nobody broke the law. It was what it was. Right? People voted. He lost because of his mishandling of the COVID pandemic. That if he had handled properly, he would have got a lot more votes. And he probably would have won. But he mishandled something, almost 1 million Americans died from it. His policies during the pandemic crashed the economy. His lack of handling of COVID was part of the reason food prices are what they are now. Partly to blame for the inflation is what was going on during the Trump administration. At the end of the Trump administration, inflation was actually starting to move upwards at a slower rate than it did after he left office. But it started spiking right shortly after Biden took office, before Biden had a chance to do anything, before any law ever passed under Biden. But that was only part of the story about why prices went up, right? Inflation wasn't really all true inflation. 53% of all inflation from 2021 to through 2022, 53% of it was greed. 53% of it was increases for the sake of increasing prices so businesses could make more money. That was it, and that was all. It wasn't because they had to, it wasn't because they were losing money, it wasn't because they were spending more to make the products, it was because they chose to raise prices. And that is price gouging and should be considered illegal. That's plain and simple. Another presidency with Donald Trump, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine how bad it'll be. I can't imagine what it's going to do to women's rights. I can't imagine what would happen to things like the National Weather Service, to immigrants who are here just trying to do a job. We can't deal with 5 more years or 4 more years of a president attacking fellow Americans, whether they're immigrants or not. For 4 years, he denigrated people, women, legal and illegal immigrants, the LGBTQ community. He denigrated everybody that wasn't him. And nobody seems to care about that. Nobody seems to remember that. If you see this video, I hope you will vote for Kamala Harris. I really hope you will. Because people like me need your help. It's a fact. The LGBTQ community under Trump, he has said that he wants to lock us in prison cells. You've already seen what he did to women's rights, and at least when it comes to reproductive health. Project 2025 pushes for even worse. Project 2025 pushes for taking the right of women to be able to vote. It pushes the concept that only men should be allowed to vote, that only people that own land should be able to vote. Taking away the right to vote for anybody that's not able to afford their own home. We got rid of that for a reason. Partially because of its racial connections and the racism that it was really born out of. And the fact that redlining existed, which locked people out from owning property sometimes. And under the ideas and Agenda 47 and Project 2025, women may not even be able to have the right to own their own property without a man buying it for them. There's a lot of stuff in Project 2025 that is terrifying. And most of it is covered in Agenda 47. Anyways, thanks you for watching. This will probably be the last video I put out about the election. And I'm just hoping it goes the right way. Either way it goes, I will be right here making videos, pushing for protections for the LGBTQ community and for women in America. Go out and vote. Hopefully you vote for Harris. And if you don't, Don't come crying to me when you lose your rights. I've tried to be as positive as I can about this election, but I'm absolutely terrified. Terrified for my wife, terrified for every woman I know, terrified for myself and everybody else that I know in the LGBTQ community. Trust me, we're not okay right now. I have friends that are gay on Facebook, right? They've been married for over 10 years, or going on 10 years, I guess. And they're scared that they're going to lose their marriage. They're literally scared, trying to figure out what they're going to do if they lose the protections that they have under the law. Because if that comes to the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas has already said that they're going to vote to get rid of the marriage equality ruling. Right now, there may be enough people to block that, but if Donald Trump is elected, there won't be any hope to stopping it. There's hardly any hope now. But if they get another conservative person on that court, our country is over when it comes to having equal rights for all Americans. Anyways, y'all have a great day. I'll see you down the road. Get out there and vote.